Two adult children, same mother. And if you interviewed them separately, you would swear they were describing two different women. Denise, who lives 20 minutes away, will tell you her mother is declining, the unopened mail, the burned pot, the missed appointments. Her brother, Mark, who lives across the country and calls every Sunday, will tell you, Mom sounds fantastic, sharp, funny, totally on top of things. Here's the twist that surprises every family I work with. They're both telling the truth. And until you understand why they can both be right, your family will keep having the same fight on a loop while the actual problem gets worse in the background. Today, the sibling divide, why it happens, what it does to families, and the exact scripts to get everyone looking at the same mother. Stay with me. Welcome back to the Aging Parent Playbook. I'm Dr. Barbara Sparacino, triple board certified psychiatrist specializing in adult psychiatry, geriatric psychiatry, and addiction medicine, and I'm the aging parent coach. This show helps you get ahead of your parents' aging instead of chasing it from behind. This is episode 67, and we are going where most caregiving advice refuses to go. Your siblings. Because in my experience, the hardest part of caring for an aging parent is very often not the parent. It's the people you grew up with. My standard reminder before we begin. The stories on the show are composites, details are changed and combined to protect privacy. The lessons are real, the people are protected. Nothing here is medical or legal advice for your specific situation. This is education, so you can walk into your own family's conversations prepared. Part 1, Denise and Mark. So let me tell you about Denise and Mark. Denise is a 54-year-old married woman, 2 kids still at home, and she lives 20 minutes from her mother. Gloria, who is 81, Mark is 57, lives about 2,000 miles away, calls Gloria every Sunday afternoon, and flies in twice a year. For Denise, the change has been slow and unmistakable. It started with little things. Gloria repeating a story within the same visit. A stack of mail with 2 late notices in it. The day Denise found the electric kettle in the refrigerator, and they both laughed about it, except Denise didn't really laugh because it was the 3rd strange thing that month. So Denise does what worried daughters do. She calls her brother. And Mark, who genuinely loves his mother, says a sentence that will define the next year of the relationship. I talked to her on Sunday. She sounds great. Are you sure you're not reading into things? Now watch what happens to Denise. She's not just worried anymore. She's worried and alone. Because now every new incident becomes evidence she has to collect, like she's building a court case against her own mother, just to be believed by her own brother. And watch what happens to Mark. Every anxious call from Denise confirms his story too. His sister has always been the intense one. Mom's fine. Denise needs to relax. This goes on for months. The calls get shorter and sharper. Thanksgiving is tense. And then gets a urinary tract infection, which in an 81-year-old brain can present as sudden, florid confusion. She calls Denise at 2 o'clock in the morning, convinced there are workmen in the house. Emergency room, hospitalization, and Mark flies in, and for the first time in a year, he sees what Denise sees. And here is the heartbreaking part. Instead of coming together, they explode. Denise finally says everything she's been swallowing. Where have you been? I've been doing this alone. You didn't believe me. And Mark, guilty and blindsided, defends himself the way guilty, blindsided people do, loudly. So Gloria recovers from the infection, mostly. The siblings take longer, and the tragedy is that nothing about that fight was necessary. Not because they should have been nicer to each other, but because the entire year-long argument was built on a misunderstanding of how cognitive decline actually presents. So let's fix that piece right now. Part 2, why they are both right. Here's the clinical reality underneath the sibling divide, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. First, your parent performs, and I don't mean that cynically, right? Clinicians sometimes call it show timing. For a scheduled phone call, a short visit, a person in early decline can rally. Social skills are the deepest grooved, most overlearned behaviors we have. The charm, the stories, the how are the kids script. Those run on rails that stay intact long after the machinery for managing bills and medications has started to fail. Your mother is not faking health, and she's not hiding illness on purpose. Her brain is doing what brains do, running its best rehearsed programs for an audience. Second, a phone call hides almost everything. Mark Sunday call gives him a voice, and a voice in a familiar routine is precisely the thing that holds up the longest. He can't see the mail pile. He can't see the kettle in the refrigerator. He can't see that mom was napping to rest up until his call because talking to him takes everything she has. His data is real. It's just the wrong data for the question. Third, the sampling problem. Denise samples her mother dozens of times a month at random hours in in-garden moments. Mark schedules her once a week at a scheduled time in her best rehearsed context. If two scientists studied the same subject with those two methods, they would publish opposite papers. Your family is running that exact experiment and then fighting about the results. And fourth, the piece that nobody says out loud. The faraway sibling often needs mom to be fine. Not because he's lazy or selfish, though it can look that way from up close, but because if mom's declining, then he's 2,000 miles away from a mother who is running at a time, and that is an unbearable thing to hold up on a Tuesday when you can't do anything about it. Optimism is often how his grief protects itself. I said a version of this in episode 66, and I'll keep saying it. Siblings who deny decline are usually not being difficult. They are grieving early and calling it optimism. And here's a fifth force I'd be leaving out if I stopped there, and it's a tender one. Your parent is often an active participant in the divide. Gloria, in her clearer moments, knew something was slipping. And what did she do with that knowledge? She protected her son from it. Don't worry your brother, he's busy. She rallied harder for his calls than for anyone else's because his worry was the one she couldn't bear. Parents curate what each child sees, and they usually protect the child who's farthest away and the child whose opinion of them they most fear losing. It isn't manipulation, it's dignity doing what dignity does. But it just means that the far sibling isn't just getting a performance from a declining brain, he's getting a performance his mother is deliberately giving him. So it's two layers of curtain between him and the truth, and he never asked for either one. And while we're being honest about parents' roles, there's a harder pattern I have to name because some of you are living in it. Triangulation. This is when a parent, sometimes knowingly, often not, plays the children against each other. Your sister says, I can't live alone anymore. Can you believe her? And then to your sister, your brother thinks I'm doing wonderful. Each child receives a different mother and a different message. And the siblings end up fighting each other instead of comparing notes. Sometimes this is lifelong family architecture just continuing under stress. Sometimes it's the disease, a brain losing its executive footing, reaches for old levers of control, and dividing the children is a lever that has always worked. Either way, the antidote is the same, and it's beautifully boring. The siblings talk to each other directly on a schedule and compare quotes. The first time you and your brother read each other the two different sentences mom gave you, the triangle collapses. And look, you don't have to confront her about it, and mostly you really shouldn't. You just have to stop letting the information travel exclusively through her. United children are the single best gift you can give a declining parent, even when, especially when, some part of her is working against it. So here's the reframe I want you to carry out of this section. Your sibling is not lying, and neither are you. You are holding different data sets, which means the argument you keep having is the is she or isn't she argument. It's unwinnable by design. Stop trying to win it. There's a better move. So part 3, from opinions to data. The move is this. Stop asking your siblings to agree with your conclusion and start asking them to agree to shared information. Opinions divide families, data organizes them. Practically, that means proposing an objective look, a comprehensive visit from a physician, a cognitive screening, a geriatric assessment, whatever level fits the situation. And the script for proposing it is one you may have heard me give before, because it's the single most useful sentence I know for this fight. You say, you might be right. And if you're right, this costs us one afternoon. And if I'm right, waiting costs us everything. Can we get one assessment so we're looking at the same information? Notice the architecture of that sentence. You can see nothing about who's correct, which means your sibling doesn't have to lose face to say yes. You frame the cost asymmetry honestly. Being wrong in your direction costs an afternoon. Being wrong in his costs the window we talked about in episode 66. And the ask at the end isn't agree with me, it's look with me. Almost nobody refuses to look. Then, once there is shared information, hold a family meeting worthy of the name. Not a holiday ambush, not a group text that turns into a crime scene, a scheduled call, 20 to 30 minutes with 3 agenda items that you sent before, and here's what the assessment said. Here's what mom needs in the next 90 days, and who is taking what. Short, scheduled, and repeated monthly beats long, emotional, and never. A few mechanics that make the monthly call actually work because structure is what keeps old family dynamics from hijacking it. Somebody facilitates, and it should usually not be the primary caregiver who has enough jobs. Give the far sibling the chair. It's a lane they can own from anywhere. Somebody takes notes, and the notes go in one shared document that everyone can see. What was decided? Who owns what? By when? Not a group text. Group texts are where family decisions go to mutate. One document, one source of truth, updated after every call, and rotate the note taking so no one becomes a family stenographer forever, and put money on the agenda before it becomes radioactive. I mean, transparency, not negotiation. Here is what mom's care currently costs. Here are what her resources are. Here is what's coming. In my experience, at least half of what looks like sibling conflict about care is actually unspoken anxiety about money and inheritance that nobody will say out loud. So it leaks into fights about whether the homemade is necessary. Naming the numbers and the light takes charge out of them. The families that share a simple cost summary fight dramatically less than the families where one sibling holds a checkbook in the dark, even when that sibling is doing everything right. And when you divide the work, divide it by capacity, not geography, and not by who's been doing it by default. Distant siblings cannot do the driving, but they can absolutely own the finances, the insurance phone calls, the research on care options, the pharmacy mail order logistics, and being the appointment note taker by speakerphone. Every lane a far sibling owns is a lane the near sibling puts down. In my experience, most far siblings are not unwilling, they are unassigned. Nobody ever handed them a lane, so they hover at the edge of the situation, feeling vaguely guilty and doing nothing, which the near sibling reads as not caring. Assign the lane. Part 4, the scripts. Let's get concrete because this is a scripts episode. 4 situations, 4 scripts. Situation 1, the sibling who minimizes. You've heard the main script already, though you might be right script. One addition to it, bring one specific dated observation, not a pile. On March 10th, she missed a cardiology appointment she confirmed the day before. One clean fact invites curiosity. 12 feel like a prosecution, and people being prosecuted defend themselves instead of thinking. Situation 2, the sibling who criticizes from a distance. Every near caregiver knows this one. You make 100 decisions a month, and the sibling who makes none calls to question 2 of them. Here's the script. I would love your help getting these decisions right. The next one on the list is choosing a home care agency. Can you research on that? Can you own the research on that and bring us 2 options by Friday? What you're doing is converting criticism into a job application. Critics either take the job, which you wanted, or they decline it, and the people who have just declined the work go much quieter about how the work is being done. Situation 3, asking for help when you've stopped asking. Near caregivers eventually stop asking because vague asks keep failing. So make the ask small, specific, and scheduled. Not I need more help. That's a feeling, and feelings are easy to sympathize with and impossible to schedule. Instead, can you take all of mom's insurance calls, starting with the claim that arrived Tuesday? Or can you fly in the first weekend of August so I can be completely off duty for 3 days? Specific asks get yeses. Vague asks get sympathy. Situation 4, the sibling who will not engage at all. This one hurts, and I want to be honest with you about it. You cannot make a sibling care, and burning yourself down trying is a second tragedy on top of the first. So the strategy shifts from asking permission to keeping informed. You send a brief monthly update by email. Here's mom's status. Here's what's been decided. Here's what's coming. Reply if you want a voice in the next one. You are no longer requesting participation. You are documenting your transparency. That protects the relationship. Last thread, it protects you from the accusation of secrecy later. And frankly, it protects you if decisions are ever questioned. Then, and this is the psychiatrist in me talking, you grieve the sibling you wish you had. That's real grief, and it deserves the name. Some of the anger my clients carry at checked out brother is grief wearing armor. And a bonus situation because it's a season for the holiday hero. This is a sibling who parachutes in twice a year, 48 hours with mom, and departs with a list of everything you're doing wrong and 3 big ideas nobody will execute. Before you combust, understand what you're seeing. 48 hours of shock compressed into opinions. He just met, all at once, the decline you've been absorbing one Tuesday at a time, and big plans on how helplessness dresses itself up. So the script isn't a counterattack, it's a channel. Say, I'm glad you saw it because I need you to see it. Pick one of those ideas, the one you feel strongest about, and own it start to finish. The research, the calls, the follow through. Report back at the family call. The heroes who were serious, take the lane. The heroes who were managing their own guilt out loud, go quiet, and either way, your next 6 months just got easier. Part 5. When the family needs a referee. Sometimes the divide runs too deep for scripts, and the loving thing is to bring in structure from the outside the family. 3 tiers. So tier 1, the one we've covered. Objective assessment, let a professional's findings be the thing everyone argues with instead of each other. Tier 2, a geriatric care manager, sometimes called an aging life care professional. Think of them as a general contractor for your parents' care. They assess, they coordinate, and crucially for today's topic, they become the neutral voice on the family call. It is remarkable how much better siblings behave when a professional is presenting the care plan. The same sentences that start a war coming from a sister lands as simple information coming from a care manager. Practically, here's what engaging one looks like. So it stops being an abstraction. It usually starts with a comprehensive assessment visit where the care manager evaluates your parents' situation, top to bottom, health, home safety, support, finances at a high level, and what's coming next. Out of that, you get a written care plan, which notice is exactly the shared information document your family has been missing. After that, families use care managers at whatever dose fits. Some keep them on for ongoing coordination. Others bring them back hourly for big transitions. The hospital discharge, the moving decision, the family meeting that needs a referee. Yes, it costs money. And for divided families, it is very often the cheapest thing on the menu because it replaces months of circular sibling calls and, in the worst cases, legal fees. You can find credentialed ones through the Aging Life Care Association directory, or start with your local agency on aging, which can point you to resources at every budget level, including free ones. Tier 3, for families with real conflict, especially with money and old wounds are tangled together. Elder mediation exists. A trained mediator runs the family meeting, so it stays about mom instead about 1987. Using one is not an admission of failure. It's an admission that your family is made of humans. One more structure point where the episode shakes hands with last week's. If your parent has named a power of attorney or is about to handle it in the open. The sibling who discovers after the fact that his sister was quietly named agent 2 years ago does not think paperwork got done. He thinks something was done to him, and now every decision she makes runs through that filter. So when the documents get signed, your parent, ideally in their own words, tells all the children what was decided and why. I named your sister because she's local, and I want your brother handling the finances. Review each year. The agent role is a job, not a crown, and saying so out loud early prevents a decade of suspicion. If the documents were signed long ago in the dark, bring them into the light at the next family call. Sunshine is now cheaper than litigation later. And one clinical flag before we close this section: if the sibling conflict has you not sleeping, dreading the phone, replaying arguments for hours, that's not just family stress anymore. That's a load on your health, and it deserves the same seriousness you'd give any other symptom. We're going deep on exactly that next week. This week's excitements, 2 parts, and the first part takes 5 minutes. Part 1, write the data proposal. 1 or 2 sentences in your own words, built on the frame. You might be right. 1 assessment, same information. Write it before you need it, because you will not compose it well mid-argument. Part 2, schedule 1 20-minute family call in the next 2 weeks. 3 agenda items maximum. If the call goes well, put the next one on the calendar before you hang up. The families that do this monthly stop having the big blow-ups because nothing has 6 months to build up pressure. And if the legal side of this is still hanging over your family, the piece where everyone agrees something should be signed but nobody does it, my legal strategy workshop is now available on demand. The live era wrapped up this month, and the full workshop is now yours to watch tonight if you want to. 1 hour, $17, the 5 documents, the right order, and the scripts to bring your parent on board. Go to theagingparentcoach.com or comment the word workshop on any of my posts, and I'll send you the link. And for today's sibling scripts written out word for word, comment scripts, and they're yours free. And here's what I want you to remember from today. Your sibling is not describing a different mother because they don't care. They're describing different data. Stop fighting over conclusions and start sharing information. Hand out lanes instead of resentments. And the family needs a referee. Hire one before you need a surgeon. I'm Dr. Barbara Sparacino. This is the Aging Parent Playbook. New episodes every week. Next week, it's burnout from a psychiatrist's chair and why I'll be taking my own advice when you hear it. I'll see you then. Take care.